Let's see if the internet comes back a little better.
All right. I have returned.
I refired up the stream, which means we probably ditched whoever was watching. But
No, no.
looking on Down Detector, Twitch was struggling for a bit. I hope that's what it was. We'll find out. Yeah, it is what it is. But it basically it did not catch a bunch of stuff. It got like, oh yeah, it thinks that thing's 45 minutes long. So we've just been dead in the water for a while.
Oh, that's too bad.
Oh well.
Oh well. The good thing is that was a much more like work focused section of the stream than some of our yammering has been. Like that's just a work meeting like that.
I was
And
grinding it out.
it's valuable to us whether or not it was streamed. So
I'm not sure that like Twitch is even in one piece. Yeah, Twitch ads have spent last hour arguing with my hotel Wi-Fi. We covered this. Given the question about food on a plate, and you just saying it evolved. Usually, there's an art Bible or style guide defining rules and convention. It's
and
true.
that's a category of task that we willfully chose not to go through.
Yeah. Um,
because it's two of us, and now it's three of us, and maybe we're paying for it. But like,
we're technically speaking paying for it because even though it's not a payroll gig, we're selling off part of the game's future for a real artist to come in and rock it out.
No, I mean I know that's not the paying for it. I mean,
but that's kind of the point is that like you bootstrap with what you have. Like there was no illusions about the art in the game, and to be honest, for a long time it was like, all right, we are committed to it. But generally speaking, you would have art boards either in Miro, you might have a Bible, depending on how large the game is. Would be all kinds of stuff in it. Like, hey, here's I don't know, a palette that you might make a lot of these types of sprites with, as opposed to just YOLOing it.
yeah.
Here's like the general guidance on UI panels and here's treatment of here's a selection of fonts you're going to use. I think you're absolutely right, Joe, to call that out. But yeah, we were riding dirty.
We definitely just chose not to do it, and here we are.
Sometimes cool things evolve when you don't do that step.
I agree with that. I'm not saying that this is one of them, but what we chose to do actively, I'm not saying it's not either. What we chose to do actively was lean on the fact that we could design something with a robust economy in it that was fun to play, that was well engineered. For a while it was just me, and now the engineering is like, full tilt. You have to make those calls, otherwise you end up being one of those people who says, "I'm working on a game. I'm working on a game." Yeah, no, I'm not taking it as criticism, Joe. I think it's a very good call out that like if we were to start another game and we had Luke around, there would be the early tasks of like, hey, what is the style of this? Like, what's the color treatment? Like, what's the tone? Which who knows? Maybe there is a second game that we talk about on some Fridays. Um, I'm not 100% sure that we need to bite the bullet on it right now. Um, Part of me is still very much I'm responding to Joe in chat. Part of me is like still of the spirit of like, all right, as far as CRUFT goes, there's a lot of improvements that can be done. There's still a lot of game to make. Um, I think it's absolutely fine if Luke's like, my style would be to just like knock out a Bible for this. If that's what you want to do as a tool, that's I guess that's going to be more of a you thing than a me saying we need one, because I'm not going to use it. Like, in the absence of the game still being completely ideated and in the absence of me having like the new stuff that we do, like I'm hopefully not doing any of the art. I know I will make little use of it, but I can understand it as an organizational tool. The same way I write stuff down in design that like other people don't need to read. So I'm gonna try to snooze this ad. Boop.
I mean, the art Bible is way more helpful if you have multiple artists too, because then you're all working towards the same style.
Yeah, like if I was a artist designer, um, I would have strictly been like, oh, I got to write this Bible up before someone else shows up and starts working on art in it, so we get consistency out of it. Um, I I personally don't have a use for it here. I'm not opposed to it at all. Um, but for game two, yeah, it would really be nice if we could sort that out.
I think with the UI stuff, there's definitely value in saying something like, "Oh, this point font for XYZ situation," or text longer than so many lines needs a ruler separating, like those kinds of things. I'm totally open to. And as you're going through Luke and taking a look at the phone, if you want to call out stuff like that, I will follow that if that's um, something that ends up making sense for the UI portion of the work we're scoping out here.
Sure.
We haven't talked a little bit about our UI workflow yet, but right now for the duration of CRUFT, we've been using UI Toolkit, which is kind of like a CSS-esque way of laying out elements in Unity. And for the most part, it's me hooking it up and making it work, and then worrying about what it looks like later, and maybe not worrying about what it looks like. Yeah, we'll probably want to talk more about. If you have questions about how the UI stuff works, like definitely grab my ear.
All right. Is this the place that we are going to actually track the work? I think it is. What do you think?
By this, you mean the spreadsheet?
Yeah, I think Will looks frozen.
Oh,
Wow, that was nice.
I'm just waiting.
He's just shooting lasers.
That question wasn't for me, so I just
No, it was actually Will. It's for both of you. Is this where we want to track this?
It works for me.
If it works for Luke, then that's great. Because again, it's not my work, so I don't want to prescribe how to do it. This is just where I go first because I don't have we don't have task tracking software, and so far we haven't needed it. This is simple enough.
So my point there is that like I need to be contractually accruing time for Luke, at which point, if this is where we're doing it, it needs a section for administrative BS like this meeting, because those are real hours. I think just a flowing section at the bottom that is just like, hey, it's got a date, it's got a description of the thing, and it's got how much time was in it. Then I can use this sheet to like sum things up over time.
How about at the top?
It's going to balloon out like at the top. Like none of this is prioritized. This is a report of shit went down. Like, oh, this morning I got the game hooked up and chatted with Will and did this, and that was like however much time. And then like, oh, on 6/23/25 I spent 2.5 hours of my precious afternoon talking with these two weird dudes on the internet. Yeah. Not in this case, Joe. Not in this case. Because if this is going to have like the estimates and then the actual work that comes into it, I'm pretty open with this. Like how we are paying Luke is points on the game, based accrued by time served, which makes it sound like jail. So for me, in terms of bookkeeping, the actual time worked being in here, it's going to be really helpful if it's just in the same place as a, hey, did this stuff on this day. So like your actual tasks, you won't put down in this bottom section, but all the other CRUFT, if you will, that comes with working with us, that is time that should be booked, goes in here.
I'm not going to put actual. I was going to call this section CRUFT, but then I thought that would be confusing.
We're blurring the lines, Joe. Blurring the lines. But he points out priority task list and time card are two rather different things until now.
Do we want to talk about estimates and time spent then, since we're on the blurred?
Yeah.
We're on the topic of blurred concepts.
Before we drop into that, if you're not cool putting estimates on stuff live on the internet for people to come back and laugh when you're wrong, Will and I are always wrong about some stuff. The point is to get better at your estimates. It's a little unfair given the fact that you've not actually worked with all of our stuff yet, but we don't really care. Estimates are estimates. We don't cook the books. If you estimate that something is a day task and it takes you 2, it took you 2 days, and that is what you are in quotes paid for. So but if you're like, hey, I don't really feel comfortable like doing this on the internet right now, that's also fine too. I don't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah,
I don't mind.
Yes, you're so game. You're just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I'm for whatever.
All right.
Okay. I wanted to, so I definitely wanted to introduce just the thought, but we don't need to jump into it.
No, let's jump into it.
Certainly can.
He's down.
Yeah, so the way I like to do, as people often say, like, oh, how long is that going to take you? And you give them a number and then you're always wrong. I think a low and a high estimate is a little more realistic because you don't always know how long something's going to take you, but you have an idea of a range. So that's my suggestion. It takes a little bit of the sting out of being wrong because you're wrong less often. And again, being wrong is not the point. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you've been estimating stuff for a long time, Luke.
Yeah.
All right.
Sick. All right. Well, let's get into it then.
Just not live with a studio audience.
Live all right. Why don't you tell us where you want to start, Luke?
It's hard for me to do overall estimates. I haven't like counted all the sprites.
Okay.
I have a really solid estimate for each one.
Let's not estimate every single one then. If you want to take a minute, that's the other really, people do this wrong too when people are asked for estimates. Like, oftentimes the answer is, let me get back to you on that. So any of these that you want to get back to us on, just say so. Like, for example, item icon cleanup. I get what you mean. Let me get back to you on that, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's honestly probably like 10 minutes per sprite, but there's like hundreds of sprites maybe, so.
Right.
Let me see for sure.
My acronym there is let me get back to you on that. Some items aren't clear what they are. Is this another let me get back to you?
Yeah, there's a lot of sprites in that one, so that's hard.
Okay. Some visual language is inconsistent.
I feel like
Let me get back to you. These ones are super broad.
Yeah, there's 2 questions for that one. Like,
Luke, you said you were down for this. Now all of a sudden you can't just imagine
down for
your
it,
magic
He's doing
hat.
it. He's doing the most advanced thing, which is saying, "Let me get back to you on that."
It is
It'll
really
be
the next
really
level.
riveting stream if I sit here and like count all the fruits.
Right.
It's content,
No,
baby.
I'm
Content.
probably too cavalier about all this crap. Usually the value of doing this as a group is like we kind of start to talk out what concretely it means, and then you get the benefit of everybody's perspective on the project when you get to that number.
Okay.
Van does not match the marketing materials. It's not blue, and also love. I think you mentioned like doing some highlights and changing the color.
That would probably be like 1 to 2 hours.
Bingo. Update van background location after fixing the drive-off version of the van. This is more of a don't forget to do this than like a huge task.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be like less than half an hour probably.
Sure.
Call it 1-2.
Okay. I have started going as small as like quarter of an hour.
Yeah,
kind of
and
tasks,
I just
but
want to be safe on that one in case I'm only foreseeing not your ability to work, but my ability to then. This one could turn into a back and forth.
True.
I am also often wrong when I put 15 minutes on a task. 15 minutes is really not that much time.
No, it's not.
Will, you crush some stuff. You absolutely crush some stuff. I appreciate.
But usually the 15 minutes ones are more than 15 minutes.
Yeah, well,
All right, on to the revamps. Smithing station needs a redo because it's deceptive and looks like component parts from other assets.
It's deceptive.
Deception.
Smithing station itself, that would probably end up being a little bit of a back and forth.
I doubt it. Anything you do is going to be better.
Okay. Let's say 3 hours on that one, but
Yeah, it's a big sprite, that's for sure. It's like 10 by 10 or something. I don't know what. We'll give you a 2 to 4 since
okay.
It seems like there's some uncertainty, and it's a larger one. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Don't forget, estimates should include testing time from Joe. Previous projects, you'd be lucky to get compiled and the game loaded in 15 minutes. It's true. That reminds me of another task we talked about. Testing utility to see specific content quickly. I'm not sure how I would quickly get into the testing, get into a state where I have the smithing stall. Maybe we need like a
Menagerie.
A custom location that you can just fire up where you say, give me a room in the void that has a smithing stall in it, you know?
Could you have a large empty map, and on startup when you go to it, the van just spits everything out? I mean, that
We
would
did have that, didn't we?
that would cover it. Like if it's a
you just plug in the IDs of everything you want it to spit out.
Yep.
Is there any other type of, I guess the only other type of like difficult to access content might be like Chivo related, but now I can't really think of anything. Like almost everything comes from an item, and that's the point.
There's Chivos, there's characters, but like those.
Oh, characters.
Those are pretty WYSIWYG. Like.
We might need a utility for unlocking a character if it's like typically.
I mean, honestly,
this would be just as simple as plugging in the items you want to spit out the van. You just plug in the characters that you want to be in your shop. All of this together is maybe like that's even crazy. This is probably 2 to 4 hours each. Because I gotta spit up a whole test world that works. Okay. Crafting stalls are drawn from a janky perspective and inconsistent with each other.
There's at least 5 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it would probably take the same time as a smithing station, so it would be like 10 to 20 hours, I guess.
Yep. Drafting table revamp.
Oh, drafting table.
I guess this one's
There's 7 stalls, by the way.
Is the drafting table one of the stalls, or is it different?
No, it's different.
It's not as big as a stall. The drafting table is pretty, like a 2x2.
Okay, yeah, that one. I guess 1 to 3 hours for that one. I'm not sure how much I'll have to change.
If you say I'm not sure, then there should be a big difference between these two numbers. So that checks out. Tree revamp.
I haven't counted the trees yet, but is there like 7?
14.
Oh yeah.
Wait. 13, I think. Pine, orange, olive, mulberry, maple, mango, ebony, coconut, cedar, banana, avocado, apple, and almond.
And there's a sapling and a full-grown version for every single one.
Yes.
So hold on, you said 13, right?
Yeah, I did.
So that's essentially 26 icons. I don't know if they all need the same amount of work. So I'll just roughly say minimum of like, this is such a wide range. It would be minimum of like 30 hours, maximum of like 60 hours.
No,
on
that's fine.
trees.
When they're so the breadth between the low and high is like super important. And Will was touching on this a second ago. I think we might actually be an ad too. That like there's certain things you're like, man, I am certain about this, and then there's certain other ones
Yeah.
where like you get this big wide range. And one of the things that's really good is that, and Will does this all the time, is he'll go back to the things that have very high or broad estimates and go, I want to break this down,
Yeah.
and revisit it. So
We'll probably break down. We could benefit from breaking down the trees when we get closer to it for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But this is like, this also just helps us sequence work early on, where we can go like, oh yeah, like this is a lot of work and it's worth this much to us, so we can do that
Yep.
weight.
And
that way.
the nice thing about the trees is that like they all exist as items in game already. They have the recipes attached to them. Like, you know, the likelihood of this coming in as like a singular task is probably pretty low. Like what we'll probably do is like chop it up, pardon the pun, into other ones where you're just like, yeah, all right, you know, this week I'll do the mulberry and the orange tree because I got other stuff priority wise. Like where it gets really sticky is when you have something with either high or broad numbers and it all has to get done at that package
Yeah.
size.
Should we talk about locked plots and their weird dirt and their inability to communicate well?
Hmm.
It does kind of seem like there's maybe two tasks in here. One is like
Yeah.
a consistency pass for locked plots, and the other one is sort of a
I don't know that that's 100% true because I don't think you can fix the dirt without fixing it. It's literally like a singular sprite with transparency as a treatment in it. Like, I think you're going to be taking each locked plot and maybe not doing it from scratch per se, but like you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to get rid of the dirt on the ground because it doesn't look good with the way that we're doing a drop shadow or something like that. And like every single one, you're going to have to do the same stuff to.
Yeah.
yeah. These
There's
are
a
the
lot.
like
There are a lot of locked plots. Let me get a count. Some of them
Yeah,
are more difficult than others.
it's these. So, yeah, some of them like this one is not a lot going on it. There's like some rocks and some grass, whereas like this one is really involved. It has like this mine, and same with that one.
There are 37 of them, of
Oh.
exceedingly variable.
Yeah, some of them are
Stuff.
just kind of templates of each other. Like the 3 and the 5 are pretty much the same.
That's less than I thought.
It's going to grow, but those will be
That's
different tasks. I mean, what's nice about this is you'll get very consistent with it, and then when we start very soon designing new levels, you'll get a task of like, hey, I need a 5x10 with 13 sausages on it. And then, you know, by having done a bunch of these to start, it'll be like, all right, I got a flow. Let's make some stuff.
It's hard to say for the lock plots because some of them, like the mines or whatever, that have a huge amount of stuff on them. That's one thing, and then the treatment of them overall is another thing, I feel like.
Yeah, let's
Uh,
hold
Let me
on
get
that.
back to you on that.
Yeah.
yeah.
CRUFT logo.
Mm, let's just say a rough, like, I want to dedicate, let's put a solid like 3 to 5 hours on that just
Yeah.
because
Okay.
I want to make sure it has time to be good because it's important.
Cool. But that's another good that's another thing that estimates sometimes turns into is just time boxing. Like, how much do I want to spend on this? Happens a lot more with art than engineering, that's for sure. Rework the fir trees.
Well, we already had a tree
Yeah.
section.
We do. We're already knocking out
revamp?
all the trees.
Dupe.
Like 3
Wait,
lines
did we
up.
dupe? Do we do a dupe?
It's like on line 13.
Oh, tree revamp.
Get rid of the fir trees.
And then rework the fir tree. Okay.
We don't need to embarrass the fir trees by giving them their own section.
We're pre-gaming knowing they're going to need a second pass because we're not.
Do we still need to call this out? Update main menu and transition backgrounds with new fir trees.
You can pull that out of here. I'll probably end up being the one that does it, and it might not even be necessary.
All right. It's
because
gone.
yeah, that's actually just particle emitters. It might need some tweaking, but if it does, I'll just go do it.
Oh, the trees are like instantiated little objects.
No
randomly
trees. Yeah,
positioned?
the trees are legit real.
Sick. We've got tree particles. Okay. UI improvements. This is the fix the value contrast between phone and background task.
The background.
Some of this task feels unbounded because like yard background is actually like a bunch of different things.
Yep.
Yeah. The phone like wouldn't be anything, but the background I feel like is a little more.
Should we split them into phone and then a yard background entry?
Yeah, only because the yard background I feel like needs to be its own thing. And will involve like replacing trees.
Yeah, the yard background's a big one.
I think
Is that clear enough? Improve yard
yeah,
background?
I know it. Yeah, I know it
Okay.
is. I think the phone, I don't know, give 1 to 2 hours. I know it's probably not a lot. And then, but for yard, I would do 5 to 6 just to make sure I have time to make it good.
I don't think it's going to be that short. There's like 5 yards, and they're explicit.
Oh, I forgot about the different yards.
There's
Yeah, there's a lot
I
of
was thinking
different
1
yards.
yard. Okay. I guess.
I think the first one's going to take you a while, and then it's going to dictate how you kind of choose to do the rest of them. But there's a tremendous amount, as we talked earlier. Like, okay, here's where we get weird.
What if we do? What if we pull out one
Yeah,
and then
pull
we
out
have
one.
another task that's the rest of them?
I would put
Sure.
the rest of them underneath proposed variation for location backgrounds. So the tutorial one we knock out as like this is the prototype, the prototypical one. This is where we
Give it 5 to 6.
get all of our learnings from. Give that one 5 to 6. Then Luke's like, oh my god, by doing that I realized X, Y, and Z is gonna be amazing, and then we apply it to the rest of them.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I'll do a let me get back to you on that for the rest of them because it really does depend on how the rest of this goes.
Okay.
Proposed variations for location backgrounds. Do we plug anything in for that right now?
Do we wait till I do the tutorial yard? Or
Yeah, let's
Yeah, I think
let's
so.
wait. Yeah.
okay. This one seems related to the first 2 tasks. very
These
top.
ones.
Yeah, the cleanup
Yeah.
and the clarity.
Is this just a more flubby way of saying those things that we've already been through?
Yeah,
And
I
we
don't
delete
think
it.
it's not its own task.
It's difficult to tell what kind of ore and ingots you are working with.
I
That's
would consider the ore ingot bore log its own thing.
yeah.
Yeah, this is pretty specifically talking about a problem.
The thing about that is that these two, it takes a lot of thinking, but not a lot of actual artwork.
That
So
counts.
what
It all
you
counts.
it absolutely counts.
It
Now-
does. It definitely counts, but I mean, it's just a weird fair estimate.
We'll find out exactly how good a thinker you are based on
You-
the estimate.
No pressure.
I'm not a good thinker. There's a lot of logs. Question mark. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 logs.
More uncertainty means wider range between low and high.
Yeah,
as far as what we're using in game right now, I think there's only 5 of them. I think it is 5.
So, oh, this is split into 2. Yeah, so let's say like 5 to 15 for each of these. I don't think it will be 15, but just in case something goes really wrong.
Okay.
I have a crisis of conscience. You're weeping at the Cintiq.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine, but it's a little up in the air right now. Also, for clarity, I'm really like an under promise over deliver person.
Well,
That's how my dad taught me.
I will make this as clear as possible. Like we don't want any sort of like crazed crunch or whatever. This is supposed to be like by the numbers. Is an important piece of our identity as a company. I cannot stop you from burning the midnight oil, but part of the beauty of this is that it's pretty chill. However, I'm not even sure if you know. I once worked, I think, a 100-hour week for your dad. So, like, I'm not going to be completely hypocritical. But he didn't ask me to do that, and I was really, like, invested in stuff. But
Yeah.
that is a young man's game, and neither Will nor I are that. And part of not working for someone else is just, like, keeping it pretty chill. So you will police your own time appropriately, but we're not going to book for you, like, 60 hours a week of stuff. Don't worry, we're not going to run out of work.
I totally get the under promise over deliver kind of mantra, and that works with like an external client, your judgy boss, like your like the corporate structure within which people get laid off or not. Like this isn't that.
There's
Like
not
this,
anymore.
like really, we're just trying to plan the work effectively. And so padding tasks when you're uncertain is totally good, but inflating stuff to protect yourself from some sort of consequences, I don't think is necessary here. Like there are no consequences to what happens to these estimates.
Yeah.
There isn't like I'm not going to build $1 million marketing campaign based on the sum of these numbers, and then we'll be screwed if you're wrong. Like that's just not how this works, right?
That face. Oh, the face you just made.
Right?
It.
Like
I mean,
that's all I want to say about under promise over deliver. I'm not telling you to change how you've done this here, but I just want to like recognize that this is different than the world where under promise over deliver is the lifestyle.
It's also how I talk to myself though.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes I get the instinct where it's like, I could knock that out in an hour, but then I'm like, why do that?
Yep. Fair enough. Well then, stay true to yourself. I don't want to get in the way of that.
Sorry, I'm not stressed about this.
All right, then let's talk about UX pass on market and dump buttons. This is like a totally different category of work than the rest of this. So
yeah,
switch gears.
I don't know. Let's say 2 to 5. I think there might be some back and forth on UI stuff for sure.
Sure.
Is this did we have a phone thing from above?
the phone
Phone?
was the phone thing from above. I think was
Was
strictly about that was like the contrast part, and I think this may be different what we have here, but I don't remember how it would differentiate. Back button.
I'm not sure what you mean by from above. Oh, from earlier in this
Yes.
document.
That's just visual, and then this is like UI.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah. This is like how does the information present? How does I don't know.
And this is just an evaluation.
Yes, this is just what do you think it needs?
Do you love the back button? Do you love it? Do you love where it is? What it looks like? Like this is what that is.
How does it make you feel?
Okay, let's say 1 to 3 for evaluations. And this is
Uh,
like,
Are these all 1 to 3s then? Because these are
yeah, sure.
it's evaluations for the rest of this little section.
Yeah.
There's a better
Is the exit button for the van anywhere on this? 'Cause I feel
Ooh.
like that could be improved.
Let's get that on there. Man, what an oversight.
Ooh, now you're throwing them punches at me.
That's
Do you have any
good.
idea how much time I spent on that exit button?
No.
That is one of the only art assets that I created.
Yeah, I
Oh,
I
really?
spent 0 on it. We're finally going to
Wow.
obliterate Will's art contribution from the game. Wholesale nuked from orbit.
I'm not even going to fix the capitalization on it. That's how much effort I put into the exit
Oh
button.
my god, great.
Yeah, revamp the exit button. How much time do you want to put on that?
Like an hour. It'll
Will,
probably end up being way less.
Will, that's not your exit button.
I know.
Okay. That is version.
You did actually change the exit button.
Yeah,
I know.
that's version 2 of the exit button. I probably spent
it's
less
too
time than you did.
Right, and that's not a bragging thing. That's me being like, how do I use Illustrator?
So if I contribute to the exit button, then everyone will have contributed to the exit
Indeed,
button.
that will be
It'll be
our
It'll
team
be a round
effort.
trip.
Cool.
All right, I gave you half hour to an hour because you said less
Sure.
than an hour ish.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh yeah,
do we
animation.
talk about sprite animation now? I want you to give this a let me get back to you on that because I'm not even sure how we want this to work. So it's hard to say how much time it is if we don't even know how we're going to do it. So
Yeah.
let's skip that for now.
I think it's probably. I mean, we can skip it, but I think it's more. We don't know from Will when it comes online because sprite animation's pretty straightforward. Like the thing has frames. Pick what is different. They're different pictures, and we show them in different times.
I actually have a degree in animation.
I
That was
totally
my college degree.
get that like we're not reinventing animation here. I guess I'm just uncomfortable worrying at all about it until I've like
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, I know what it does.
Sure.
Um,
We can reconvene.
great, and then we're done. That's it.
Yay. Besides the let me get back to you on that for some of them,
Mhm.
like the top 3 is just like me looking at it. Should we wait until I do that before we like prioritize what you want me to start on?
I think for me, there's some of these things have dependency and some really don't. I think the value. I think the readability and UI stuff has the most like immediate need. I'm not saying like do those first, but like has the most tangible whole contribution. It being 3 days into early access, but I personally think that it would probably be best for you to start with sprite stuff just so you get a sense of what's in there. We get some check-ins going. You get your muscles loose in terms of how we've laid things out. Those are my thoughts. My final thing is that like I do not have with the stuff that's in here. I don't have much trouble with you just kind of dictating what makes sense to do next, because it's almost all just like straight up upside.
I think it might be cool for me to start with some of the simplest, just do like a handful of item sprite icon cleanup or changes so you can see like what I do.
Yep.
And then throw me out whatever you need, given what's happening that day.
I think a lot of this stuff we're going to get through, and then it's going to be about making brand new stuff, and then it'll be much more pipeliney at that point. But we want to knock, I think, just about all of this out before that, so that we're starting from a somewhat sane baseline.
Sure, totally. So for today, I'll focus on getting those, besides the animation estimates.
Sweet.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds good. And then we can take it one step at a time from there.
I think.
Easy peasy.
Sweet.
Do we have anything else to cover?
Yeah, what am I going to do this week?
Oh, that's right. You and I still work here.
I still work here.
Oh, geez.
Well, so I wanted to kind of like knock off some of the things that folks highlighted over the weekend. For example, the getting stuck with the magnet. Like I could spend so much time on the tutorial, but also like it's time to sort of zoom out again eventually and think about what the next big leg is for features in the game. I put a list down. Where does my list say? So stockpiles was one of the suggestions that came up.
That's a solid one.
Showing completed Chivos is something that I experienced.
Yeah, we got to show.
That I wanted to know. Like I started knocking off some Chivos, and then I was like, "Oh, cool. What did I get?
The heck did that do?
What do I have now? And why is it like I wanted to see the things that I unlocked, but then I had no way of doing that. So that's probably that's probably on my short list. And we've heard about kind of discovering what station makes X, Y, and Z. A few enough. I think it's been a few times. Is that?
That's exceedingly valid. It has been a few times, and we do need to like. I am of two minds. Like I feel like somebody is going to Wikify the daylights out of it, so I'm not sure we want to do that like immediately. But I don't think that the game tells you enough in it. I think we need to design this one and not over design it.
So of those three things, showing completed Chivos, I think, is the most straightforward. I could probably muddle through the UI for that in the existing Chivo app. We talked about it being another tab.
Yep.
So something like, something like a copy of this. Is it the same UI element that you see on the regular screen of the Chivos?
I don't think it's identical. I think it's just the. I don't think it has the requirements on it because you already did them. It probably should have text in it somewhere that is the description of the thing, and then it should have the rewards you got for it.
Are you guys cool as a hop of the cup so I can use both my screens?
Yes.
Okay.
It's been a pleasure.
Yes,
make sure I did send you an invite for the sheet we were just working in and stuff. Just make sure you're filling your hours in and all that jazz. And awesome. our first work meeting. I'm psyched.
Thanks. Super fun.
Alrighty.
Awesome. Talk
Talk
to you later,
soon.
Luke. All right, this is probably good enough for grabbing the word.
You probably want to throw the icon for the actual Chivo in there. Someday they'll look good, and we'll want to show them.
Oh yeah. Good enough. Someday I've got to move out of the polish tab. I'll clean that up later, though.
I wonder if the internet's struggling again today.
Been a rough day for the internet.
Yeah. Stream choked at a couple points. Now going through Steam's website. It's a little stunky. It's so hot outside.
It is very hot. All right. Now what else? After you can see your completed Chivos in the game, by process of elimination, I think stockpiles would be the next thing to think and talk about. We've talked about, so yeah, what are stockpiles? Stockpiles are ways to organize items in your yard kind of automatically, right?
Yep.
When I collect from a station, if I have an item that there is a stockpile for,
Yep.
the item ends up in that stockpile.
Yep. Do you want to hear my from the cuff, off the cuff, from the hip design of it?
Sure.
You plop it down somewhere. It's empty. You put an item in it, it will forcibly collect that item till it's full. Now
The things, yes.
Now the test is, does it actually empty the thing in toto, or will it only empty it down to the last one? That's the debatable part.
I don't understand what you mean yet.
I have a 3x3 box that I plop on my yard. I put CRUFT in it. It shows up in the top left. Even like I don't have to go into it to see the stuff, I don't think. Or at the very least, we just show you at the top level in the yard the one item that's in it. What I'm getting at is that I drop CRUFT in it the first time. Now it is a CRUFT stockpile. And when I generate CRUFT, CRUFT will go there first until it's full, and then it'll go about its business. If I go to, if my pigs are eating, they'll eat CRUFT out of that thing. And will they empty it completely, or do we always leave one last thing in it so it stays tagged as a CRUFT stockpile? Until I physically go into it and pull that piece of CRUFT out. I believe we should keep one last thing in it until I manually pull something out. Also means that I cannot drag something else into it once it's got something in it. Something
So
different.
is it like a linked location item?
I don't know if it needs to be or not, and that's we should talk through it, and then you should just make a call on it. But
I kind of think so my gut is no. And here's my reasoning. The impetus for wanting this was not a place to put things, but it was so that the person knows how much they have.
so maybe it
And
doesn't.
yes, also organizing your stuff a little bit just feels nicer. Um, but one of the requirements I saw in the feedback was to know how much I have. So if it's squirreled away in another dimension, that actually gets in the way of that.
I mean, it depends on the presentation at the yard level. So I could, if we imagine the shelves right now. Actually, Joe says that's clean. You can even put more than one different item in it, and then the actual inventory acts as the filter itself. I like keeping the last one of each. There's some potential there. Um, like
It's this is a tool for the organized players. Multiples is an interesting sort of edge case for sure. I
I
wouldn't put that in the MVP though.
I wouldn't put it in the MVP. I think this is going to be one of those cases where we should figure out the like most clean, clear, simple utility version, and then find out very quickly that there's a couple more versions that people want to have come online. So for me, it's like I plop this thing down. How it's different from a shelf is that I mean, one of the things we need to debate is this for accumulating so that you know exactly how much, because like it needs to have a certain amount of space in it. We can't just let you like knowing how much CRUFT you have is like not a case I care about because we've already got that in the UI. But like if I'm storing, I think its size is WYSIWYG, unlike the shelf. I think its size in the yard is X by Y, and it holds X by Y tiles of whatever. I think visually, the issue is that because it's an object, you probably can't just drag stuff out of it. You probably have to go into it. So I think visually, we may not be able to just fill it up row by row with stuff because then people are going to try to go grab the thing that's in there, and you can't. You'd be grabbing the whole object.
Well, we could fill it up row by row and allow you to grab things out of it. If we do the work to make it, right? Like it.
Like, is it presented as a stockpile with the actual one-to-one items in it, or does it look like a stockpile with strapped down boxes and then it shows a display on it in the middle that has the CRUFT symbol and a number?
Or the whatever item symbol, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like CRUFT was just an example. Like I have put I don't want this to be I don't want people to craft inside of it. Though I may not be able to prevent that at this time.
To me, these are the two things I want this bit to accomplish, to facilitate organization and counting. Beyond that, I have less strong feelings.
I feel like we may make other tools that do additional stuff in different ways. Like I've definitely considered like, would it be cool to have a magnetic item that I plop down that's like a 3x3? I put one item in it, and now no matter what, when things output, if they output that item, they try to put as close as possible to that thing. That's not the same as doing like a one-to-one. Like 10x10 box is like 10x10 box. You can count that thing solid.
Right. Yeah. Like the magnet idea doesn't aid counting an item.
Right.
What is like the most common what's the common denominator among Chivo requirements? Because that's sort of the number I want to hit. Like, is it by tens? Is it by 50s or 25s?
It's a mix, but I wouldn't argue that you want to do it as like as the common denominator of them. You want to do it by something that's easy to read and allow the person to place more than one of them. So like, I would
5
probably
by 5s.
like 5x5s, eventually a 10x10, probably just 5x5s. Um, Maybe 10x10s too is like an advanced one where it's just like, all right, I can see that this block is full. That's 25. I can see that this one has 3 rows full, so it's got 15. Per Joe, I was thinking it was demarking the tiles that it occupied and owning their behavior rather than be a separate box that effectively gives you more space. Yeah, I think I want you to be able to build it and build as many as you need. Though it'll probably be a pretty simple recipe.
Yeah,
And then
some
that
of this
allows you
is
to
like
move it.
how much are we staying within the like the pillar of the game is governed by simple interactions. Like everything is an item, like the magnet is an item. So I'm so far on board with the stockpile being an item. And I like sort of the modular, or not modular, but the idea that like you put your first item in it and that's configurable. I think under the hood, from my world, it might be like a linked location, but you don't right click into it, and like you said, its size is also its capacity. Maybe the first slot has a little bit of like a visual treatment that indicates like, okay, this is the item it's configured to collect, and then the rest of the tiles of
A
the item
representative.
draw the item when there is something in there. And I guess there's still the mechanical, and maybe you were alluding to this earlier, there's still the mechanical question of like, what happens when I click and hold on it? And maybe I
So,
just have to empty it before I can pick up the stockpile.
so
Like,
my
what happens when I try to move it? How do I move it? If it's full, can I move it if it's full?
So I personally think it's pretty valuable to be able to move it while it's full, but I could understand and be fine with you can't. Um, so I could go at there's like pluses and minuses to both. It's fun to be able to like collect a bunch of stuff and then when you pop open a piece of property, move it. But you doing the task of having to like re-clean up, that's not terrible to me, especially like with the magnet. Um, I have to be able to drop like items in it physically with the magnet. It's part of cleanup. My concern is whether or not the person can just drag and drop stuff from its tiles. Like it should always organize everything from you from top left to bottom right. But if I want to extract one wheat out of it, how do I do that? Do I
I think you
enter it?
don't use the magnet and you just click and drag off of it.
Okay, so there is a one-to-one. The things in there are grabbable even at the yard level. Like do I go inside it?
I don't think you go inside it. That's sort of my proposal.
Okay.
Because it's not a location and I don't want there to like it's a little bit takes you out of the zone when you're like working in the yard and then you got to zip inside somewhere to look.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the time you're probably not like it kind of exists to eliminate you needing to drag stuff around anyways, right?
It does. I'm just talking about like I unlock land with a deed and I move my smoker over there and I've got a stockpile with 87 sausages in it.
Yep.
Do I drag the whole thing or do I empty the whole thing, move it?
Yeah, right. Like, this is the debate we're having. Being able to drag the whole thing sounds powerful.
But then that makes it really hard to drag stuff out of it. It's in use while it has stuff in it. It's in use, just like a station is in use.
Yeah, it's like,
If we're gonna let you drag stuff to it and out of it, my only request is that if I have 3 wheat seeds in a stockpile, they are always at the top left of it. If I drag 3
Yeah.
more in randomly in some spot within it, we put them
they're
in
sorted.
order. They're sorted.
Yep.
So can I move it if it's full? No. Can I magnet into it? Yes. Can I magnet out of it? I mean, if there are items I can grab, I don't see why not.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it just slurp. You get 10 if there's 10.
Well, are they visually represented 1-to-1 on it? Because then you
Yeah,
just use the
they are.
magnet and just grab whichever ones you want, and then when I do that, it should just make sure that it resorts it.
Well, okay, but let me ask you then, if I drop a wheat into it and the
Mhm.
wheat appears in the next open slot according to reading order,
Mhm.
when I drag a wheat out of it, is it the one that I clicked on or just the one where the cursor is, so to speak? And if it's the one where the cursor is when I'm removing from it, then why wouldn't the magnet just kind of batch move off the top of the list or the end of the list?
Because your interaction with the magnet determines how many you want to pick up. If I want 5, I don't want 10. So
Okay.
So then
I think we want to keep, like, we want it to stay organized. That's kind of the point. It's an
correct.
organization tool. But okay, I see what you mean.
I think so. So here's a couple interactions to think of. I think I drag over the thing with the magnet, and I grab 7 of these things just by swiping across it. So I've got 7 on the end of the magnet. I think that the stockpile stays in the same state with stuff missing while I have the things on the end of the magnet. If I drop the things on the end of the magnet in a valid place, then it goes and then it re-racks them. And if I drop them on an invalid place, it re-racks them where they were in the stockpile, so you're still sorted. If that makes sense. Or it just puts them back in and does the resort functionality on its own. Rack 'em.
I'm just adding words so that I know. I'm just adding words.
Yeah.
Okay, tool for organization. It's an aid for goals. tool for organization, and it's a counting aid.
Can I lock it?
That would be a nice way to ensure that you get your achievement, get your Chivo when you're ready to go without accidentally. That's where your head's at, no?
That's where my head's at. And I don't think it's a cut and dry easy answer.
Why is it not just extra work to put like a lock toggle on it?
I mean, it is just extra work. It is extra work. But like the default state, like I'm using this to organize my stuff, but I am trying to like the person policing whether or not to keep the stuff is different than I mean, it is a stockpile. I'm just thinking about the labor we want people to do and the stuff to keep it attractive. And maybe it is just annoying if I don't have a lock on it. We're like going this far. Yeah, a lock toggle's probably good. In which case, if I craft, I can physically drag things out of it, but crafting stations will not pull from it. So it's not actually locking it. There's just no implied usage. Everything has to be opt-in. Joe says padlock feels like a new thing, like a magnet. Drag it around and click on things and they won't be auto-snagged by crafting. That's sort of where I'm getting. Is like, is this actually is locking a different thing?
Right. I get what you guys are saying, and I like that because now we have a new tool which I've wanted more of anyways, and the ability to prevent something from being consumed during crafting is not just the purview of stockpiles. Like we end up with sort of like a feature heavy item called stockpile, when maybe it's more interesting if those two functions are different.
Yeah, like if the user uses the padlock tool, then they're choosing on this stockpile to say,
you can padlock a stockpile.
Yep. Like I can imagine for very small counts of items, you just do it on its own. You'd be like, all right, I'm gonna lock up this quarter of this biz build coin because I don't want to accidentally get rid of it. But that would also prevent you from putting it in the van, I think, if it's locked. Like, don't accidentally put me in the van.
Is that how does it accidentally end up in the van? Like it gets hit.
Yeah, prevent any movement is actually, Joe just said that is actually what it needs to do. It's locked. Lock it.
I'm actually curious. Like why does it also do that, or why does it need to also do that?
Well, because the game's very complicated, and you can be like, oh, I need a bunch of money, and you started working on this Chivo a while ago, and then you've been playing for a subsequent hour, and for a brief second you're like, oh, let me get rid of some corn, and then you're like, oh, fuck.
I see. So you're protecting yourself from yourself here.
Yeah, the padlock is protecting yourself in the same way that you're opting in to turn on a crafting recipe for something that you need. It's because you didn't realize, like, there's a lot to manage. I feel like maybe movement is too much because you do need to move a lot of stuff around, but it keeps it out of the van and it keeps crafting stations from auto snagging it.
Yeah, like I
still need to move.
I'm not
shit
certain
around.
that I want to be unable to move it when I'm not certain that I want those things always at the same time. Like preventing
Yeah.
something from being consumed doesn't preclude me from wanting to move it.
If I want to not move it, I put it in a stockpile.
Yeah, again, like I want to delegate organization to the stockpile in those situations for sure.
I'm attributing
I am going to make a different text box for locks,
popping and locking.
and I'm not sure that I'm going to build locks right away.
I'm not sure you are either, which is good. It keeps these things a little bit atomic. Shifting gears, I am trying to convince myself that the reason I can't get to our sales data on Steam is because it's selling so many copies right now that it's just like blowing things up.
Cool.
I don't think that's the case. But yeah, padlock, good one. GG, Joe. That's what happens when you design stuff live.
What happens? You just got a bunch of ringers hanging out in chat.
Ringers.
Page that prevents objects from being consumed by station recipes. Prevents objects from multiple things
Yeah. Ship it.
being moved into the van. Really, we don't want you to accidentally van it, and we don't want you to accidentally consume it by a recipe. Can lock stockpiles. Because it's fun to work out the details. How do I unlock an item? Do I have a different tool for that? Is the lock tool modal?
It's modal, yeah.
Is it just context sensitive? I click an unlocked item and it becomes locked. I click a locked item, it becomes unlocked.
I think so.
All right, good enough for now. Let me now talk about tasks. First of all, I probably need a new tab because we're kind of out of polish zone, right?
We're out of the polish zone. We do have to make sure that we take forward any stuff that
Yes, and I wanted to ask which things.
Joe says I'm now done for the week. We're just getting started, Joe. We'll be back on Thursday. We are getting to the end of this one, but that's an absolute certified banger of a suggestion.
I don't even have headers on these in this. Okay.
We need headers on them.
We'll copy the headers for the week. I need headers.
So organized.
All right, let's talk about polished stuff that we want to carry forward. These are my remaining twos.
The deuces.
Excuse me. Yeah, so I don't think I have sound effects for either of these.
I doubt it. Seems convenient that on the meeting where I was like, I'm ready to ship, I also didn't have any sounds for that crap yet.
It's an elaborate way to avoid dependencies.
Dude, just don't need them.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't need these. I agreed.
We didn't need them.
Let's see. So I'm just gonna move them over here to start, and then we can sort them out later.
Yeah, we can sort them out later. So much to do.
good thing. It would be better if it's done, but it's a good Okay. Here's a lot of stuff now. First of all, tools that help other people work just have to come first.
Is that really how it works?
Maybe not categorically in all situations, but I think that in this situation, that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's just weird being in a place where that actually does happen.
It's a spot that I have some experience with, and I'm used to that feeling of gotta be ahead of everyone
we
else.
have control over it now.
Yeah.
God forbid.
Do we need a testing utility for unlocking characters? I was spitballing earlier.
Yeah, I don't think we do.
Yeah. Now that I have some distance from the moment, I have a new perspective, and I don't think.
I mean, we may need it someday, but I don't think we need it now.
Okay, so testing utilities done. Do we need sprite animation support ASAP, or can it wait?
You can wait.
Okay, so then we're showing completed Chivos in the Chivos app.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm probably, okay, either we're starting to figure out stockpiles here, or we're pulling from this shiz.
I think we need to get tooltips going.
Yeah.
I think there's a large halo around that. And I would rather getting that behind us opens up just a lot more possibility in terms of the game in general just being readable, like the information at your fingertips part.
Yeah.
One of the things that's absolutely brutal on a super wide screen is that my phone's way over here, my information panel's way over there.
Yeah, you're constantly.
Yeah, like
it's wild.
My screen is bent, and that's all well and good, but like it's a solid 2 to 3 feet away.
Yeah, it's a lot. Or your mouse is like moving from all the way over to the station to all the way. Yeah.
This is some like postmodern, post-apocalypse. Like I have to move the mouse 1.2 inches on the mouse pad.
3 miles backwards in the snow.
3 miles backwards in the snow.
Yeah. So okay. So tooltips. Tooltips are good.
Tooltips are good. And I imagine we'll probably have a little chitty chatty about it tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I was about to say there's like way more. There's way more to tooltips than is represented here. There's a lot of stuff that's like once tooltips exist, we can do these things, but we need tooltips to exist.
Yeah, and there may be more stuff that that is not day zero that falls under that category.
I think I want the info controller to remain sort of the governor of tooltips.
The governor of tooltips. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Joe's right that I am more excited about doing stockpile than tooltips, but here we are. Here we are. This is the kind of discipline we exhibit on a regular basis. this is probably enough for me to just get started
I mean, honestly, that method has served us well. Of like, take the first bite out of the thing, and then a day later have the conversation of like, no, this is what we really need. There's a lot of stuff that we've been like, I think we need this, and then we don't, and a heck of a lot of stuff where we're like, oh, we didn't think about that.
Yeah, we just don't need to invest a bunch of like design time in tooltips because I think we all know what a tooltip
Yep.
does, and I'm not going to know what I don't know until I go give it a shot.
Say something nice about Sectorix, or Sectorix starts reminding the developer and the designer. Sectorix is he needs something nice said about him, or he's going to remind the paying audience how crushed you got and how much progress I made on the play.
I was so crushed that I was making what is the roll for wound? What is the wound roll called again? Like aftermath. My aftermath was a lot of d6s.
Yeah, the like
out of action.
Out of action, yeah, out of action roll afterwards. So
the only thing that wasn't out of action was the Hecaton Land Fortress, which is a giant tank with 16 wounds.
Yeah, Sectorix, it's good to see you, bud.
And guess what? That thing didn't even go up a rank. It was 1 XP short.
Yeah, it just got beat up. Sectorix, you're pretty nice, man. Yeah, it's great seeing you too, buddy. We're just just making all this money, making games, just getting rich. I'm on my own meeting and not having fun, so I'd rather be here. Oh, you could just broadcast us into your meeting. You just drop us right in. We'll just like keep on rocking. That said, we are getting near time.
We are.
End of our long East Coast day. It is so hot outside. We'll look out there. My plants look all right. They're not dead. Tomorrow and Thursday going to be brutal. Sectorix, you're an amazing human being. Do you know that? Absolutely amazing. I genuinely consider myself blessed to have met you on the internet painting war dollies. I'm sorry your meeting sucks. I could still be your company chaplain remotely. If you ever want to call me in, put me on the payroll, put me on retainer.
I'm not explaining my rationale at all for any of these estimates, but doing the UI work always takes me more time because fussing with Unity's system is more frustrating than like adding a method entry point to this.
A little bit.
Always. And then these are just sort of based on their scope. What recipe station is working on is a very specific little bit of data to show, so that's easy. And then the tooltip hover text Chivo over UI that shows audit reward text is similarly constrained data, but it's a little bit more of a fun plumbing job to go from this bit to this bit inside the list view. So that's about all. That's about all she wrote for today. No.
Tis.
It's
been a good one.
Yeah.
I wish I could.
Going up to big deal.
Yeah. I wish I could look up my sales report right now, but I guess Steam's just getting crushed. But yeah.
Yep. Well, we made enough money to pay for a marketing service. Like that's step one, right?
That is.
Very affordable marketing service, but still a marketing service.
Technologically speaking, internet-wise, pretty brutal stream. This one's like broken up in half because I had to reboot the thing. Not my fault. But hey, we had Luke on here. We have an artist now. Yeah. It's pretty wild. So a lot of progress. Feels good. Feels good to be in early access. And now just planning and making more stuff. So another good one on the books, folks. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, everybody.